Mafia boss discovers he's sterile, then a black woman gives him twins. But a feared mafia boss learns he can never have children, only for a desperate woman to show up on his doorstep with 2 newborn twins she swears are his. For the first time in his life, he lets hope into his heart, until she tells him the truth. The babies carry the blood of his deadliest enemy and a deadly sickness that will kill them if he doesn't save them fast. Suddenly, the most dangerous man in the city is holding 2 tiny lives in his hands, and the woman who brought them is hiding even more secrets that could destroy him. As enemies close in and the clock runs out, he's forced to choose between revenge, love, and the future he never thought he could have. But if the twins aren't his, why is he willing to burn the world to protect them? Drop a comment below and share which part of the world you're tuning in from today. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. The room was too white for a man like him. Dante Rucci sat on the exam table, suit jacket folded beside him, shirt sleeves rolled to his forearms. The light above him buzzed. The air smelled like alcohol wipes and fear. He hated hospitals. He hated waiting even more. The doctor stood across from him, hands tight around a thin folder, eyes not quite brave enough to meet Dante's. "It's definitive," the doctor said, voice too gentle. "The damage is permanent. You were already told after the attack years ago that there might be long-term complications. We ran every test. I'm sorry, Mr. Rucci. You're sterile. There's no chance of natural conception." The word hung there. Sterile. Dante stared at the man like he had just spoken another language. His mind tried to reject it, shove it away like a bad deal he could walk out of. "That attack was a decade ago," Dante said. His voice came out low and smooth, like always, but something in it felt cracked. "You're telling me nobody noticed before now?" "We only confirmed the full extent recently," the doctor said. His fingers shook against the folder. "Sometimes it can take time for the body to... Look, I know this is not the news you wanted. There are other ways to have a family. Adoption. Stop talking," Dante said. The doctor shut his mouth at once. Dante slid off the table, every move controlled. From the neck down, he looked like he was fine. Black dress pants, dark shirt, expensive watch. The image of a man no one could touch. Inside, something that had been quietly hopeful for years was being strangled. "You tell anyone?" Dante asked. "No, of course not. This is confidential." "Good." Dante picked up his jacket and slipped it on with careful precision, like he was putting armor back over bare skin. "You don't ever talk about this to anyone. Not your wife, not your priest, not in your sleep. Understand?" The doctor nodded so hard it looked like his head might break. Dante walked out without another word. The hallway outside was bright and quiet. His driver, Nico, stood waiting. Nico was tall, sharp, and always alert. He opened his mouth to speak, but shut it again when he saw Dante's face. They walked through the private clinic, out into the night. Miami's heat wrapped around him, thick and humid. The city glowed with neon and money and sin. Couples laughed on the sidewalks. Cars hummed past. Music thumped from a far-off club. Life was loud everywhere. Dante felt nothing but an echo inside. The door of the black SUV opened. He slid into the back seat. Nico drove without needing directions. They both knew the route by heart. "Everything go okay, boss?" Nico asked, eyes on the road. Dante watched the city roll by, families crossing streets, a woman pushing a stroller, a little boy on his father's shoulders, laughing up at the sky. He looked away. "Everything is fine," Dante said. The lie tasted like blood. "We're done here." No one told Dante no. No one denied him what he wanted. Not in business, not on the street, not in bed. For years he had built an empire made of fear and respect, of debt and loyalty. He had more money than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. More power than half the politicians who pretended to hate him. And still, tonight, a man in a white coat had taken something from him that no amount of money could buy back. Sterile. The word burned. They pulled up in front of the tower that held his penthouse. Glass and steel reached up into the sky. The doorman didn't meet his eyes, just stepped aside. The elevator took him straight up, silent and smooth, bright numbers ticking off the climb. Dante stepped into his home and keyed in the code, listening to the soft beep of the lock. The penthouse opened in front of him like a magazine spread. White marble floors, huge windows, the city spread below like a glittering promise. Expensive art, dark leather, a bar stocked with top-shelf liquor. It all felt useless. He shrugged off his jacket as he moved through the open living space. His tie came next. He left them both on the back of a chair. He needed a drink, and maybe 4 more after that. He rounded the end of the long marble island in the kitchen. And stopped. Someone was in his living room. A woman stood near the center of the space, black hair in a messy knot, wearing an oversized coat that looked too warm for Miami. Her skin was a deep, rich brown that the city lights kissed from behind. Her eyes were wide and tired and fixed on him. In her arms she held bundles, 2 small, tight bundles, baby blankets. His heart stuttered, then kicked hard. Dante's hand went for his gun on instinct, but his fingers froze halfway there. The air felt thin. She didn't flinch at his movement. She just clutched the 2 tiny forms closer to her chest. "Don't," she whispered. Her voice was rough from crying or from singing. He couldn't tell, but it was familiar. "Please, it's me." He knew that voice. It took him a second to place it. Memories flashed. A smoky jazz club 2 years ago, a woman singing like her heart was on fire, eyes that dared him to look away. A night where he had broken one of his own rules and taken her home just once. Amara. But this wasn't possible. His chest went tight. "You don't belong here," he said. His voice came out flat. "How did you get past my security?" She swallowed. Her lips shook. "You remember me." "I remember everything," he said. He remembered the way she had walked into his life like she had no idea who he was. The way she had pushed back, even when she was scared. The way her body had fit against his. And then, the way she had disappeared. No calls, no messages. One ghost in a city full of them. Now she stood here, in his home, holding 2 babies. "I tried not to come," she said. "I tried to do this on my own. But I can't. Not anymore." He took a slow step closer. The room seemed to narrow, the edges of his world drawing in around the 3 of them. "Put them down," he said softly. On the couch, carefully. She hesitated, then moved to the couch and lowered the bundles onto the cushions. 2 tiny faces peeked out. 1 boy, 1 girl. Dark curls, soft brown skin, little fists tucked near their chests. They were sleeping, breaths shallow and fast. "How old?" Dante asked. 3 weeks, she said. A little earlier than they should have been. But they're fighters. Fighters. His pulse thudded in his ears. "And why?" he said, every word sharp as glass. "Did you bring 2 3-week-old babies into my home in the middle of the night?" She lifted her chin. He could see the fear in her, but also something stubborn that hadn't broken yet. "Because," she said, "they're yours." Silence swallowed the room. The hum of the city outside faded. Time seemed to hold its breath. Dante stared at her, then at the twins, then back to her. Wrong. That was his first thought. Wrong. Impossible. His jaw flexed. "Don't lie to me." "I'm not," she said. "We were together. You know we were. I found out after. I wanted to stay away because I know what you are, what you do, but then—" "Stop!" His voice cut across hers like a blade. "You think I don't know my own body, my own limits?" Her brows pulled together. "What are you talking about?" "You walk into my home," he said, anger rising, slow and cold, "and claim these children are mine. You have any idea who I talked to tonight?" He gave a short, bitter laugh. "Of course you don't. I just left a doctor who told me I can't have children, ever. Not now, not then, not 2 years ago, not with you." Shock flashed over her face. Her mouth opened, closed. For a moment she looked like she might fall. "That's not— No," she whispered. "That can't be true." "It is," he said. "So let's try this again. Who are they, really?" Before she could answer, a soft cry broke the tension. The girl twin began to fuss, face scrunching up, tiny mouth opening in a wail. The boy followed a moment later, noses wrinkling, small bodies twisting. Amara moved on instinct. She scooped up the girl and rocked her, murmuring soft words. Her body swayed, natural and automatic. The boy kicked harder, more upset. Dante watched her for a beat, then stepped closer and without thinking too hard, reached for the boy. Amara froze. "Wait, you—" He gave her a look that made most men step back. "I won't drop him." Carefully, he picked up the little bundle. The boy was small and warm, and impossibly fragile in his arms. Dante had held guns, knives, stacks of cash, broken bones. Never this. The baby's crying eased to small hiccups. His little hand crawled up the front of Dante's shirt and rested over his heart. Something deep in Dante's chest clenched. It hurt in a way a bullet never had. He didn't smile, didn't soften his face, but his grip was gentle, his body steady. Amara watched him with wide eyes. For a moment, they were just two adults in a quiet room trying to calm two tiny lives that didn't understand how dangerous the world was. "I didn't lie," she said softly. "I thought they were yours. I don't understand." "You will explain," he said. "All of it." He shifted the boy in his arms. The weight felt strange and right at the same time. "Why me?" he asked. "Why not a hospital? The police? A shelter?" She let out a rough laugh that sounded close to a sob. "You think the cops protect girls like me? Single black woman with 2 newborns tied to a man like—" She stopped herself, biting her lip. "Tied to who?" he asked. Before she could answer, a sharp beep broke the air. It came from the panel near the door, then from hidden speakers in the ceiling. A second later, another alarm sounded, this one harsher. Perimeter breach. Dante's body shifted in an instant. He handed the baby boy back to her, his movements quick but careful, and drew his gun in one smooth motion. "Stay here," he said. "Get low. Hold them tight." Her eyes went wide. "What's happening?" "Someone followed you, or they found me. Either way, they're now a problem." Glass trembled in the huge windows as the alarm grew louder. Red lights flashed near the door. Dante clicked off the safety and moved toward the entry, mind already working through angles. He had guards downstairs, cameras, codes. Someone had gotten past all of that. He keyed into the system on the wall and saw the feed from the lobby camera. 4 men, all armed, already inside. One of his guards lay on the floor, not moving. Dante's jaw turned to stone. He didn't look back, but he heard Amara drop to her knees behind the couch, gathering both twins in her arms, whispering words he couldn't catch. Her fear thickened the air. He stepped to the side of the door, gun raised, breathing slow. The elevator dinged. Muffled voices, heavy boots, the soft scrape of metal. The first man through the door didn't even have time to shout. Dante shot him in the head. The second man swung his gun up and fired, the bullet slamming into the wall. Marble chipped. Dante dropped low, rolled, fired twice. The second man fell, blood blooming across his chest. The third tried to duck behind the wall. Dante moved fast, grabbed him by the arm, slammed him into the frame. The gun clattered away. Dante pressed his own weapon under the man's chin. "Who sent you?" Dante asked, voice calm, deadly. The man bared his teeth. "You're already dead, Rucci." Dante pressed harder. "Name." The man spat blood at his shoes. He never got another chance to speak. A crack sounded behind Dante, the fourth man shooting from the side. Dante pushed the man he held into the bullet's path. The body jerked, then sagged. Dante spun, fired, and the last attacker fell against the door. Silence crashed down, broken only by the distant city noise and the soft, shaking breaths from behind the couch. The smell of gunpowder drifted through the penthouse. A thin line of blood slid along the marble like a red crack. Dante stood for a moment, chest rising and falling. He didn't feel the burn in his lungs. He only felt the cold focus of a man whose world had just shifted twice in one night. He dragged the barely breathing third man away from the door and dropped him in the middle of the floor. The guy gasped, blood leaking from his side. Dante crouched. "Last chance," Dante said. "Who sent you? How did you find my floor?" The man coughed, lips stained red. His eyes rolled toward the couch where Amara crouched, clutching the babies. Dante's gaze sharpened. The man grinned weakly. She brought them," the man wheezed. "He wants them back." "Who?" Dante demanded. The man's bloody smile stretched wider. "Voronin." A chill slid down Dante's spine, cold and deadly. Elias Voronin, enemy, rival, arms trafficker. A man who had been trying to cut into Dante's territory for years. A man who should have had no reason to care about a single jazz singer and 2 newborns. Unless. Dante's mind snapped pieces together. His eyes went back to Amara. She stared back, color draining from her face, as if the name had hit her like a fist. "You know him," Dante said. It wasn't a question. She closed her eyes like she was bracing for a wave. When she opened them again, they shone with fear and something worse, shame. "I do," she whispered, "because he's the one who really gave me those twins." The last bit of warmth left the night. Dante stood slowly. Behind him, the wounded man let out one last breath and went still on the marble. The city kept glowing beyond the glass. The alarms finally quieted. Inside the penthouse, Dante's world shifted again. the ground under his feet giving way in a new, more dangerous way. The twins were not his. They carried the blood of his enemy. The only sounds in the penthouse were the soft ticking of the wall clock and the faint, uneven breaths of the babies in Amara's arms. Dante stood in the middle of the floor, gun still loose in his hand, 3 dead men at his feet. Her words hung between them like smoke. He's the one who really gave me those twins. Elias Voronin. Dante felt the name like a burn on his tongue. Rage pricked under his skin, but it was a strange, tight kind of rage. It didn't explode. It sharpened. "Start talking," he said. His voice was calm, but something about it made Amara flinch. She held the twins closer, like she could shield them with her body. The girl gave a small cry, then quieted when Amara whispered in her ear. "I didn't mean to lie," Amara said. When I first found out I was pregnant, I thought they might be yours. We were together that night. Then later, I met Elias." His grip on the gun tightened. "You met him before me or after?" "After," she said. Her eyes filled with shame. "Months after. I was singing at a private party. He liked my voice. He liked how I looked. He had that same dangerous thing you have. I didn't know who he really was. Not at first." Dante's jaw worked. He slid the gun back into its holster with slow control, but his eyes stayed locked on her like lasers. "Why go to him?" he asked. "You had a chance to stay away from men like me, yet you went right into another wolf's house." Her shoulders stiffened. "You think it was that simple? I needed money. I was behind on rent. My mom was sick. He offered me gigs and he paid in cash. I told myself it was just business. I told myself I wouldn't get involved with him." She laughed once, bitter and low. "Then one night he walked me out to my car," she said. "He was charming. He said he liked my mind. He listened when I talked about music. I didn't know about the guns or the blood or you. Not then. I was stupid." The boy twin started fussing. She jiggled him gently, patting his back. Dante watched her, eyes narrowed. "How long were you with him?" he asked. "Not long." Her voice went flat. "The first time he hit one of his men in front of me, I understood what he really was. I tried to leave. He didn't like that." Her fingers trembled against the baby's blanket. "He had me followed, showed up outside my place, said I didn't get to leave unless he was done with me, and then I missed my period. The test was positive. I knew he would never let that go." Dante took a slow breath. He knew men like Elias, men who thought everything they touched was theirs to own or destroy, men who didn't see women as people, only as toys or tools. "How did you get away?" he asked. "I told him I needed time," she said. "I said I wanted to think. I played scared and soft, so he'd think he was still in control. The first chance I got, I ran. I left Miami. I stayed with a friend out of state for a while. When my belly showed, I kept moving. I thought if I kept changing places, he wouldn't find me." "And yet he sent men to my door," Dante said. She swallowed hard. "His people found out I was pregnant. I don't know how. Maybe someone recognized me. They cornered me a few months ago. They brought me to him. He was calm. Too calm. He said there was a sickness in his family blood. Said most of the children born in his line didn't live past 1 year. Boys, girls, didn't matter. Their bodies just failed. It killed his first son, his niece, his brother's baby, all of them." Dante's stomach dropped a fraction. The thought of these 2 tiny lives fading like that made something inside him twist. "And you stayed?" he asked. "I didn't have a choice," she snapped, then closed her eyes like she regretted the sharpness. "He said he'd kill me if I tried to go again, and he'd hunt my family too. He didn't want the world to know he had weak blood, a flawed line. If people knew his children died, they'd see him as less strong. So he kept it a secret. He said if my babies showed signs of the sickness, he'd handle it himself, like they were broken product." Her mouth trembled around the words. 3 weeks ago, they came early," she said, voice soft now. "The doctor said they were small but okay. He ordered tests, blood work. I heard him talking to one of his men. He said if they started to fail, he'd erase them, like they were stains." Dante felt cold and hot all at once. "And the cure?" She let out a small, humorless laugh. "Of course he has some miracle tucked away in his castle. He bragged about it. A serum locked in a vault in his compound. Some genetic treatment he got from some shady lab for a fortune. He called it his last resort. Something he would only use on a child he thought worthy." Her gaze dropped to the babies, both now dozing again, not knowing their lives were already hanging by a thread. "I heard enough to know there's a chance to save them," she said. but he was never going to use it on mine. He doesn't see them as real. They're a reminder of weakness. So I escaped. Again. I ran with whatever I could carry. I thought if I could get to you. To me, Dante cut in. Why me? She looked up slowly. Because you're the only monster I know who hates him enough to break into his world and walk out alive. Because I saw the way you looked at me once, and the way you looked at these babies just now. You kill men like him, and somewhere under all that ice, you still have a heart. For a moment, Dante said nothing. He hated her calling him a monster. He hated that she wasn't wrong. He walked to the bar, poured himself a drink with steady hands, and swallowed it in one hard gulp. The burn grounded. Him. He set the glass down with a soft click. The serum is in his vault, he said, thinking out loud. In his main compound? Yes, she said. He keeps it in a lab under his house. Biometric locks, retinal scans, all his paranoia in one place. You've seen it? Once, she said. He showed me by accident when he was showing off. Made him feel powerful, having life and death in a small glass vial. Dante's mind went to work. Vault, lab, biometric locks, Elias's habits, his security style, his weaknesses. His gaze slid back to Amara. She met it, chin lifting. Even exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes and spit up on her coat, she had that same defiant light he remembered from the club. Why didn't you go to the cops? He asked. She let out a harsh breath. With what? A story about a rich criminal with a private lab and a secret disease, no proof, no money, 2 newborn babies. You think they would have moved fast enough before he found me? You think he doesn't have cops in his pocket? He couldn't argue. He owned more than a few himself. A long silence fell. The city lights painted her skin in gold and blue through the windows. The twins' tiny chests rose and fell under their blankets. The dead men on his floor reminded him how real the danger was. He stepped closer. Each step felt deliberate. Amara's back was near the couch. She had nowhere to go. Her arms tightened around the babies. Fear flickered in her eyes, but she didn't look away. So, let's be very clear, he said, stopping right in front of her. His voice was low, quiet and lethal. You came here. You brought his problem into my home. You led his men to my door, and you want me to fix it. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I want you to save them. He leaned down, closing the space between them until their faces were only inches apart. He braced one hand on the couch beside her hip, boxing her in. The other hand reached up, almost on its own, to curl around her jaw. His fingers were warm and rough against her skin. Her heart kicked. She could smell him, clean soap, gunpowder, and something dark and male that made her knees weak. You know what men say about me, don't you? Dante murmured. His thumb stroked once along the line of her jaw, almost gentle, almost not. They say I don't do charity. I don't save people. I remove problems, usually with a bullet. Her breath came short. I know what they say. And yet you came, he said. You came to the one man who has more reason than anyone to let his enemy's blood die. Her eyes shone with unshed tears, but her voice stayed steady. I came to the man who could have killed me 2 years ago and didn't. You let me go. You paid my rent without telling me. You tipped the club more in one night than they paid me all month. You think I don't notice that kind of thing? You act like ice, but you have tells. Dante. His thumb paused. So you thought you could manipulate me, he said, the words soft but sharp. Use my weakness, if I have one. I thought you might be my last chance, she whispered. Their last chance. Her lips parted on the last words. They were too close now. He could feel her breath brush his mouth. Her eyes dropped to his lips for a second, then snapped back up to his. Heat leaked into the cold rage in his chest, slow and dangerous. He hated that she saw him. He hated that she was right. He tugged her face a bit closer, not enough to kiss, but enough that her body forgot how to breathe for a second. You have no idea what you've done, he said. His voice was a rough whisper. You tied yourself to me the second you stepped into this building. You tied them to me. She shivered. What does that mean? It means, he said, you don't leave. Not now. Not until this is done. Not until they're safe, or everyone who tried to hurt them is dead. Fear flashed over her face, but there was something else too. Relief, safety, wrapped in barbed wire. I didn't ask to belong to your world, she said. No, he agreed. But you walked into it. There's no easy way back out. The girl twin gave a soft fuss between them, reminding them they were literally pressed around two tiny bodies. The spell broke a little. Dante eased back just enough to look down at the babies. He let go of her jaw, his hand falling to his side, fingers flexing once like they missed her skin. "Give me the boy," he said. She hesitated, then carefully shifted the boy into his arms. Dante held the tiny body against his chest. The baby made a small sound and settled, as if his solid weight was enough. "He looks like him," Amara said quietly. "Like Elias. The girl looks more like me, but their blood is his. That's why I'm so scared." Dante studied the infant's features. A hint of Veronin in the bone structure, a shadow of something he hated. But the boy's small hand curled around Dante's thumb in trust. He felt something crack again inside his chest. "They don't belong to him," Dante said. "Not anymore." Amara let out a shaky breath. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," he said, eyes still on the baby, "those men downstairs weren't the last. He will send more. And if he knows you came to me, he will come himself. I won't fight that war from here." He looked up at her, eyes hard now, decision made. "We leave this building before dawn," he said. "I have a place offshore, locked down. No one gets in without my word. You and the twins will stay there, under my rules, under my guard." Her brows drew together. "You mean, like I'm your prisoner?" "Like you're under my protection," he corrected. His tone left no room for debate. "Call it what you want. You don't go near a door without one of my men. You don't talk to anyone I don't approve. You breathe when I say it's safe." Her spine straightened. "I still have a say in my own life." He almost smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You have a say in how loud you want to argue while I'm saving your children. That's all." She wanted to fight. He saw it. But she also glanced at the twins, at the blood on the floor, at the broken door. "You really think your place is safer than hiding on my own?" she asked. "Yes," he said simply. "Because he doesn't just want you now. He wants to hurt me. He used my home as his entrance. That makes this personal." "So I've dragged you into something you didn't ask for," she said. He held her gaze. "I was already in it. He's been pushing at my territory for a long time. All you did was hand me a reason to finish it now." He looked back down at the boy. The baby's fingers flexed against his hand. "And a reminder of what's at stake," he added. Amara watched him, something soft and scared and hopeful fighting in her eyes. "So what happens next?" she asked. "Next," Dante said, "you get those babies fed and change whatever needs changing. You grab what you brought. My men clean this up. In an hour, we're on our way to the island." She blinked. "Island?" He turned toward the hall, carrying the boy with surprising ease. "You'll see." She stood there for a second, stunned. Then the girl twin started fussing again, and Duty pulled her back down. She rocked the baby and followed him, feet moving on autopilot. Behind them, the city's lights still burned bright. The dead men on the floor were already becoming old news in Dante's head. He had a new war to plan, and a new fragile claim in his arms that he had no intention of letting the world take away. The bodies were gone before the hour was up. Dante watched his men work with cold focus while Amara sat on the edge of the couch, clutching the twins like a shield. The metallic smell of blood still hung under the lemon cleaner, no matter how many times someone wiped the floor. Broken plaster had been swept, the door rehung, glass replaced. From the outside, the penthouse would look perfect again by morning. Inside, nothing felt the same. Luca arrived first, moving through the room like he owned it, even though everyone knew he didn't. Short, dark hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing, gun under his jacket. He nodded at Dante, then flicked a glance toward Amara and the twins. "This her?" he asked in Italian. Dante answered in English, on purpose. "She's the reason we're leaving." Amara's grip tightened. She didn't understand the words, but she understood tone. Luca stepped closer, less cold than curious. He stopped a respectful distance away, studying the babies with quiet surprise. "They're small," he said softly. "But they look strong." "Do your job," Dante said. "We're wheels up in 20. Luca nodded and stepped away to bark orders into his earpiece. Amara watched the men carry out plastic-wrapped bundles and equipment. The room she had walked into less than 2 hours ago, bright, clean, untouched, had turned into a crime scene, scrubbed back into luxury. Her heart pounded so hard it made her arms shake. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "You're just leaving all this?" Dante turned his head toward her. He had changed into fresh clothes, dark jeans, black shirt, holster visible now, no more pretending. He looked like what he was, a man ready for war. "This is just a building," he said. "I can buy another one. I only move when someone makes it personal." Tonight he did. "He?" she asked, even though she already knew. "Veronin." Dante's eyes darkened. "He." So now we move the game. The twins stirred in her arms, feeling the tension, or maybe just restless. The girl stretched out a hand toward Dante without opening her eyes, as if reaching for something she didn't know yet. Dante's gaze flicked down. For a heartbeat, his face softened. It was small, barely there, but Amara saw it. "You should feed them before we go," he said. "The ride will not be short." Her cheeks heated. I don't have much left. I've been nursing and I didn't know I'd be on the run again." He nodded once, practical. "Matteo brought formula, bottles, clothes, diapers, everything they'll need for a while." She blinked. "You did all that in an hour?" "Less." He didn't sound proud, just factual. "You're not the first emergency I've handled." That stung, and she hated that it did. He jerked his chin toward the hallway. "There's a guest room at the end. Take them. Do what you need. I'll send someone to collect your bag." "I don't have a bag," she said, voice small. "I left everything when I ran from his people. I only grabbed them." His jaw tightened. He crossed the room, and before she could react, he reached down and took the boy twin from her arms. The motion was careful, efficient, like he had practiced with something fragile in another life. "Then we'll buy you a new life," he said. "Go!" The command made her spine straight, like a string had been pulled. She stood, still holding the girl. Her legs felt unsteady, but she followed his direction down the hall. The guest room looked like a hotel ad. Crisp white sheets, soft lighting, a huge window with the city stretching out below. It didn't feel like it belonged to her world. She laid the girl twin on the bed for a moment and opened the package, sitting on the nightstand. Someone had already placed formula, warm bottles in an insulated bag, and tiny clothes there. He really could move the world in less than an hour. Her chest hurt. She lifted the baby again, settled into the chair by the bed, and began to feed her. The girl latched onto the bottle like she had been starving. Amara's eyes burned as she watched her drink. "I'm trying," she whispered. "I'm doing the best I can." Behind her, the door opened with a soft click. She jerked, leaning instinctively over the baby. "It's just me," Dante said. He stepped inside and shut the door with his foot. He held the boy twin, who was also busy with a bottle, tiny fingers gripping the plastic like it was the only safe thing in the world. "You didn't knock," Amara said. He gave her a look. "You're in my house." Annoyance sparked in her. Not for long, apparently. He didn't argue. He moved deeper into the room, close enough that their knees almost brushed as they sat at an angle. Her in the chair, him on the edge of the bed. The twin in his arms suckled noisily, eyes half closed. For a few seconds, the world shrank to just the quiet sound of two babies drinking and the low hum of the city outside the glass. "You hold him like you've done this before," she said softly, surprising herself. He glanced at her. His lashes were thick and dark, making his eyes look almost softer, if not for the sharpness behind them. "I haven't," he said. "Unless you count lifting a gun the wrong way." It was a joke, but it wasn't. Still, the corner of her mouth twitched. "How did you learn?" she asked. "You watch enough people with kids, you pick things up," he said. "And I read." She blinked. "You read." He shifted his grip carefully as the boy's bottle emptied. "Employees, clients. I need to know how they think. People with children move different. They're weaker in some ways, stronger in others. I studied them." "That's not reading," she said. "That's spying." He looked at her again, and this time there was a thread of something like amusement in his eyes. "In my line of work, they're the same thing." The boy finished the bottle and let out a tiny sigh. Dante pulled it away and, with surprising skill, put the baby against his shoulder and patted his back. The baby burped. Loud. Amara couldn't help it. She laughed, soft and real. The sound seemed to surprise both of them. Dante's gaze dropped to her mouth, then back to her eyes. The air between them changed, warmed. His free hand rested on his thigh, fingers loose, but she could see the tension in his forearm. "Do you always act like you're in control of everything?" she asked, trying to push away how aware she was of his body so close to hers. "Because I am," he said simply. "Even now?" Her voice lowered. Even with him sent to kill me? With his men in your building? His jaw flexed once. I adjust. That's why I'm still alive, and most of my enemies are not. She studied his profile in the soft light. Strong nose, full mouth, a faint scar near his temple. He was beautiful in a way that felt wrong for a man like him. Beautiful and dangerous, like a knife made of glass. You're not worried at all, she asked. Oh, I'm worried, he said. Just not about me. Her breath caught. He didn't look away from the boy he held. If he wants you dead, he could have done that already. He wants to erase loose ends. He wants to make me bleed. That means they're the ones in the most danger now. He nodded at the twins, and her arms tightened around the girl. So you're doing this for them, she said. Not for me. I'm doing this because it's smart, he said. And because I don't like men who use children as weapons, or women as shields. The edge in his voice told her he meant it. Not as a line, as a rule. She swallowed. And if I try to leave, after we get to your island? His eyes finally moved to her face again. He leaned forward a little, closing what space was left. Their knees touched. Heat sparked where they met. Don't, he said quietly. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. Her heart kicked. That bad? He held her gaze, and for a second, something raw showed through the hard shell. You wanted a monster, he said. You came to one. Monsters don't give back what lands in their hands, Amara. They keep it. Or they break it. His free hand came up again, almost on its own, fingertips brushing a stray curl away from her cheek. His knuckles grazed her skin, sending a line of heat across her face. He didn't pull away fast this time. But I don't break what belongs to me, he added, voice dropping lower. I protect it. Her pulse jumped at the word. Belongs. His thumb paused near the corner of her mouth. She could feel his breath, warm and steady. You and those babies walked in here, he said. You didn't walk back out alone. That's the last time you had a choice about this. Her chest tightened, anger and fear twisting together. You can't just decide that. I already did, he said. You want them to live. You want that cure? This is the cost. For a second, she hated him, for the control in his voice, for the way his words caged her, for the way her body reacted anyway. The girl twin sucked at the bottle, finished, and let out a soft, satisfied sound, dragging Amara's focus back down. She pulled the bottle away, shifted the tiny body to her shoulder, and patted gently. I didn't come here to be owned, she said, her voice low, rough. Too late to worry about that now, he answered. He stood up then, and she felt the loss of his nearness like a rush of cold air. He settled the boy into the crib that had been rolled into the room while she was busy, laid him down with surprising care, then checked his breathing like he'd been doing it for years. We leave in 10, he said. Luca will carry your girl while you walk. I'll take the boy. What if I drop something? She asked, half joking, half panicked. You won't, he said. But even if you do, I'll be there. He said it simply, like it was a fact. Not a promise, not a question. Then he walked out, leaving the door open behind him, like a reminder that he didn't worry about her going anywhere, because he believed there was nowhere she could go. The boat cut through the dark water until the shape of an island rose ahead, quiet, shadowed, and surrounded by pale lights that glowed along the shore. Amara held the girl twin close, fighting exhaustion as the wind whipped her face. Dante stood at the front of the boat like a statue carved from stone, the boy twin strapped against his chest, watching the island with the focus of a man preparing for war. We're here, he said without turning. The boat slowed beside a private dock where armed men waited. Their stances loosened when they saw Dante, but their eyes stayed sharp. Amara stepped off with Luca's help, her legs unsteady from the long journey. The air smelled like salt and pine, cooler and cleaner than Miami. But the silence made her uneasy. It felt too perfect, too controlled. A stone path led up to a large white villa on a hill, lit softly from within. Security cameras watched every angle. Guards moved through the shadows like ghosts. Amara's heart thudded. Is this where we're staying? She asked quietly. One of my homes, Dante said. No one gets in without my word. The statement wasn't comforting. It was a reminder. Inside, the villa was wide and bright, with tall windows and polished floors. Music played somewhere in the distance. Soft piano, calm but eerie. Dante walked ahead without looking back, expecting her to follow. She hated how naturally her feet obeyed. He stopped at a set of double doors and pushed them open. Inside was a large bedroom suite with soft lighting and a smaller connected nursery. 2 cribs waited, perfectly made. A mobile of stars hung above them. "You had this ready," she whispered. "I plan ahead," Dante said. "Babies need order." He placed the boy twin in one crib with surprising gentleness. Amara laid the girl in the other. For a moment they both stood still, watching the tiny chests rise and fall. "How long before the sickness shows?" Dante asked quietly. Amara swallowed hard. "I don't know. Some children in his family died early. I've seen signs already. They get tired fast." Dante's jaw tightened. "Then we won't waste time." She turned away from the crib, arms wrapped around herself. "You talk like we're taking a trip. This is life or death, Dante." "It is," he said, "which is why we're doing it my way." She faced him, anger rising. "Your way means I have no say. I didn't come here to be locked away." "You came here because you had no other choice," he said, stepping closer. "Veronin will keep hunting you. Here, he can't reach you." "That's not the same as freedom." Dante's eyes dropped to her mouth before returning to her eyes, dark and steady. "Freedom won't keep your children alive. I will." Her breath caught. He stood close enough that she felt warmth radiate from him, close enough that her heart beat louder. She hated that her body reacted at all, hated how part of her leaned toward him. "I'm not yours," she said. "Maybe not," he answered, voice low. "But you're in my world now, and I protect what enters my world." Her pulse jumped. Protect or control? He almost smiled. Both. A soft whimper came from one of the cribs, breaking the moment. Amara hurried to check on the twins. Dante stepped back, giving her space, but his eyes stayed on her. "You'll sleep here tonight," he said. "Luca is outside your door. If you need anything, call him." "You're leaving?" she asked before thinking. He nodded once. "I'll be in the East Wing, close enough to reach you, far enough you won't feel watched." But she already felt watched. By him, by the guards, by the cameras, by the entire island. Dante reached the door, then paused with his hand on the frame. "Rest," he said. "Tomorrow we start planning how to tear Veronin's world apart." Then he stepped into the hall and closed the door behind him. Amara stared at the cribs, then at the heavy door, and knew one thing with sinking certainty. She had escaped one cage, only to walk straight into another, one wrapped in luxury, guarded by guns, and ruled by a man she couldn't outrun. Not anymore. Sunlight broke over the island in a dull gold line when Amara woke, stiff from sleeping in a chair beside the cribs. The twins were still resting, small bodies curled under soft blankets. For a moment, the room felt peaceful. Too peaceful. The kind of silence that warned trouble was coming. A knock sounded once. Luca stepped inside before she could answer. "He wants you downstairs," he said. "Now." Her stomach tightened. "Is something wrong?" "He doesn't like waiting," Luca said simply. Amara smoothed her hair, checked the twins one last time, and followed him out. The villa was quiet except for the faint ocean wind pushing through the open balcony doors. The smell of fresh coffee drifted from somewhere she couldn't see. Dante stood in the dining area with a phone in one hand, tension in every line of his body. He ended the call the second he saw her. His eyes scanned her fast. Awake, alert, unharmed, and some of the tightness eased from his shoulders. "Sit," he said. She didn't want to sit, but it was easier than arguing with a man whose word bent the world around him. She took the chair across from him. A plate of food had already been set in front of her. Eggs, toast, fruit. She hadn't eaten a real meal in days. "You need strength," he said. "Eat." "I'll eat after I check them again," she said. "They're asleep," he replied, "and Luca is watching the monitors. Eat." His voice wasn't harsh. It was quiet, controlled, and somehow that made it harder to refuse. She picked up the fork. Dante watched her for a few breaths, too closely, like he was studying her. It made her skin warm. "You did well last night," he said finally, keeping calm, thinking fast. She didn't feel like she'd done well. She felt like she'd been drowning. "I didn't have a choice," she murmured. "No," he agreed. "You didn't." He sat opposite her, elbows on the table, gaze steady. "I've spoken to my contacts. Veronin has tightened his compound, extra guards, new scanners. He knows you're alive." Her chest ached. "So he'll come." "He'll try," Dante said, "but he won't find you here." She pushed her plate away. "What do you need from me?" His eyes sharpened. "Details. Everything you remember about the vault, the lab, Where he keeps the serum? I told you everything I know. Tell me again, he said. Slowly. She hesitated, then nodded. She described the hallway lined with glass, the metal door, the keypad, the chilling air inside the room, how Elias had smiled while telling her no one else in the world had access. As she spoke, Dante's expression grew colder, focused, dangerous. When she finished, he leaned back, folding his arms. We'll get in, he said. But it will be risky. And when we take that serum, he'll come harder than before. She swallowed. He'll come for me. No, Dante said quietly. He'll come for all of you. She met his eyes. And you? I'll be waiting, he said. The words weren't a promise. They were a threat meant for someone else. But somehow, they steadied her anyway. A storm rolled over the island that night, dragging heavy clouds across the sky. Lightning flashed in the distance, turning the ocean white for a heartbeat before darkness swallowed it again. Amara stood near the window, arms wrapped around herself as the wind shook the glass. She hated storms. They reminded her too much of running, of nights spent hiding in bus stations, of holding the twins in her arms while praying no one recognized her. Dante's voice carried from the hallway before she saw him. Calm, controlled, giving orders. When he entered the room, rainwater clung to his hair and shirt as if the weather had tried and failed to push him back. You should be resting, he said. She shook her head. I can't sleep, not when I know he's out there. He can't reach you tonight, Dante replied. Not through this storm, not through me. The certainty in his voice made something tight in her chest loosen, even though she wished it didn't. A loud crack of thunder made the twins stir in their cribs. Amara rushed to them, placing a gentle hand on their chests until they settled. When she looked back, Dante was watching her. Not with suspicion or impatience, but something else, something quieter. You care for them well, he said. They're my babies, she whispered. I'd do anything for them. His gaze darkened. I know the feeling. Another thunderclap shook the villa. The lights flickered once. Dante stepped closer to the cribs, his presence steady, grounding. The storm will pass, he said. And when it does, we start planning our move. Amara turned to him. You keep saying that, but planning a break into a fortress, a lab, a vault, it sounds impossible. It's not impossible, he said. It's just dangerous. And you're willing to risk your life for them? She asked. Lightning lit his face for a moment, sharp and fierce. I've risked it for far less. Silence settled between them, thick as the storm outside. Amara looked at him, really looked, and realized something unsettling. Dante wasn't doing this out of duty, or pride, or even revenge. He was doing it because he'd already made a choice that tied all of them to him in ways she didn't know how to undo. They're not yours, she whispered. No, he said, but they're under my protection now, and that makes them mine in every way that matters. Outside, the storm kept raging. Inside, the world shifted again. The storm broke by morning, but the island felt different. Too still, like the air was holding its breath. Amara woke to the faint crackle of radio static coming from down the hall. When she stepped into the living area, Dante and Luca stood over a table scattered with maps, screens, and surveillance feeds. Their voices were low, urgent. She hovered near the doorway. What's going on? Dante lifted his head. His expression was calm, but the muscles in his jaw were tight. Movement on the water, he said. A boat without a signal. It came too close to the island before turning away. Her stomach dropped. His men. Maybe, Luca said. Could be scouts. Could be nothing. It's never nothing, Dante added. He turned off the screen and crossed the room, closing the distance between them. She forced herself not to step back, though every instinct told her she should. His nearness was overwhelming, solid, steady, impossible to ignore. You and the twins stay in the safe wing today, he said. No wandering, not even to the beach. Fear tightened her throat. Do you think they're coming here? If they were coming now, we'd already be fighting, he said. But Veronin knows where you are. He's testing the perimeter, looking for weaknesses. And if he finds one, she whispered. Dante held her gaze. He won't. Her heart kicked at the certainty in his voice. She didn't know how a man could sound calm while planning for war, but Dante made it feel like gravity. Solid, unshakable. He brushed past her, heading toward the hallway, but paused when he sensed she wasn't following. Amara, he said, looking back. Come with me. She hesitated. To where? To check the safe wing, he said. I need you to know the exits. And the ones you should never use. The words made her skin prickle. She followed him down a long corridor lined with high windows. Outside, the ocean shimmered from the storm's leftover light. Inside, Dante walked with quiet purpose, every step controlled. He didn't look like a man preparing to hide her. He looked like a man preparing to protect something he'd already claimed. They stopped at a heavy steel door disguised behind white wooden panels. Dante typed a code. The lock clicked open. Inside was a short hallway leading to 3 rooms, a fortified nursery, a reinforced bathroom, and a small control room with screens showing every corner of the island. "This is where you go if the alarm sounds," he said. "You lock the door. You stay low. You don't open it until Luca or I come for you." Her pulse raced. "And if neither of you can?" His eyes sharpened. "We will. Dante!" "We will," he repeated, firmer. He stood close enough that she felt the heat of him, close enough that the fear inside her twisted into something sharper. His voice softened, but only slightly. "I'm not losing you," he said. "Or those babies. Not to him." She swallowed hard. "You act like we already belong to you." "You walked into my life," he said quietly. "That doesn't go away." A soft cry echoed from down the hall, the twins waking. Dante stepped back, letting the moment fall away, but the look in his eyes stayed with her as they headed toward the nursery. A look that said he wasn't just preparing for war. He was preparing to win it. For them. By late afternoon, the island felt restless, as if it sensed the danger creeping closer. Amara spent most of the day feeding the twins, rocking them and watching the storm clouds move off into the distance. Every time she glanced toward the windows, she expected to see a boat approaching, or shadows where they didn't belong. Dante kept disappearing into strategy meetings with Luca and Matteo, speaking in low voices she couldn't hear. Each time he walked past her, she felt a shift in the air, like his presence carried weight she could feel even when he didn't look at her. But when he finally entered the room again, near dusk, she felt it instantly. Something had changed. He carried a rolled blueprint under one arm, his hair pushed back from running his fingers through it too many times. His shirt sleeves were rolled to his forearms, revealing corded muscle and veins that looked carved from stone. He set the blueprint on the dining table and looked at her. "Come here," he said. She blinked. "Why?" "Because you need to understand what we're walking into." Her stomach tightened. She moved closer but left a bit of distance between them. He ignored the space and unrolled the blueprint, revealing a detailed map of Elias Veronen's compound. High walls, towers, sensor systems, and a sprawling mansion built like a fortress. "This is where the serum is," Dante said, tapping a room marked in red. Hidden 2 floors below the main house, secured by biometric scanners. She studied the drawing, feeling her pulse rise. "You actually think you can get in there?" "I don't think," Dante said. "I know." His confidence was terrifying. As he explained guard patterns and entry points, she noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw flexed whenever he mentioned Veronen's name. He wasn't just planning an attack, he was preparing to walk straight into hell. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "Really?" He didn't look up from the blueprint. "Because your children need it." "That's not the only reason." He finally met her eyes. The heat there made her breath catch. "No," he said, "it's not the only reason." She felt her pulse jump. His gaze held her still, steady, searching, too intense. Before she could break eye contact, the security alarm chirped once. Not loud, not urgent, but sharp enough to snap the mood. Luca rushed into the room. We picked up movement again, same boat, closer this time. Amara's blood went cold. "It's him." "Maybe," Luca said, but they didn't try to land. Dante straightened, rolling the blueprint tightly. His voice lowered into something darker. "He's testing us," Dante said. "Seeing how fast we react, how many guards I pulled. He's looking for patterns." Amara swallowed. "What do we do?" "We break his pattern," Dante said. "Tomorrow we leave the island." She stared at him. "Already? There's no time left to waste." "And the twins," she whispered. He stepped closer, dangerously close. "They come with us. You stay at my side, always." Her chest tightened at the certainty in his tone. Not a question, not a suggestion, a command. She wanted to argue, to tell him she wasn't some soldier in his war. But the twins stirred softly in the next room, and fear strangled her words. Dante looked at her, slow, steady, claiming without touching. "This ends soon," he said. "One way or another." And in his voice, she heard the truth. He didn't just plan to break into Veronen's world. He planned to burn it down. Amara barely slept that night. Dawn crept through the villa's windows as she packed the few things she had, her hands shaking, even though she tried to hide it. The twins slept peacefully, unaware that their world was about to shift again. A soft knock sounded. Mateo stepped inside, holding a tiny tracking chip between his fingers. "This was found outside the villa," he said. "Someone dropped it. Someone close." Her breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means Veronin knows more than we thought." Amara's heart pounded as she crossed the hall to find Dante. He stood near the balcony, the early light cutting across his face like a blade. Before she could speak, he turned, eyes dark, focused. "Pack fast," he said. "We leave in 1 hour." She nodded, but inside, fear twisted tight. Veronin wasn't hunting them blindly. He was closing in. Dante felt the shift before anyone spoke. The wrong weight in the air, the wrong silence. As the SUV neared Veronin's outer road, he touched his vest and froze. Something pulsed beneath the fabric. "Someone tagged me," he said. Amara's breath broke. I'm sorry. He threatened my family. I didn't want to." Dante's eyes went cold, the kind of cold that wasn't anger, but something deeper, emptier. She wished he would shout. Anything would hurt less than that silence. Luca slammed on the brakes just as gunfire exploded around them. The SUV spun, metal screaming against metal. Dante shoved Amara down, shielding the twins with his body until the vehicle tipped onto its side. Hands tore the door open. Rough arms yanked Amara out, ripping the twins from Dante's grasp. She reached for him, screaming his name. But he was already losing consciousness, blood in his hair as the world went black. Dante woke to pain first, raw, burning, and sharp enough to rip a groan from his throat. But the second sensation was worse, the overwhelming emptiness beside him. No small cries, no warm weight of the twins, no soft breath from Amara. He forced his eyes open. The room was concrete, dim, and unfamiliar. A medical kit lay open near the cot where someone had patch-stitched the wound at his temple. Voices echoed faintly from somewhere outside. Then the memories hit. Gunfire, the crash, Amara's scream as she was dragged away. He swung his legs off the cot, pushing himself upright. The world tilted, but rage steadied him. He reached for the nearest wall, dragging in a breath that tasted like metal. The door opened. Luca stepped inside, bruised, covered in dust. "Boss," he said quietly. "You're awake." "Where are they?" Dante's voice scraped out like broken stone. Luca didn't pretend to misunderstand. "Veronin's men took them, but we tracked the convoy. They're inside his main fortress." Dante ignored the throbbing in his skull and reached for the gear Luca carried. Guns, knives, fresh magazines. His hands shook, not from weakness but from barely contained fury. "You're still bleeding," Luca warned. "That stops when I get them back," Dante said. He strapped on a tactical vest, movements tight and violent. Every breath fed the fire building inside him. "We go now," he ordered. Within minutes, they were in a black SUV cutting through the mountain roads toward Veronin's stronghold, every mile sharpening Dante's resolve. He wasn't going to negotiate. He wasn't going to warn. He was going to take back what was his and burn down anything in his way. Veronin's fortress towered above the rocky cliffs, cold light sweeping across the walls. Dante moved through the shadows with Luca behind him, each guard falling before they could sound the alarm. He felt no pain, only the burning need to reach Amara. Every step echoed the same thought. They took what was mine. Deep inside the compound, a biometric door blocked their way. Dante planted an explosive charge and blew it open, smoke rolling across the floor. Through the haze, he saw Amara. She was curled around the twins, shaking, while Veronin stood above her with a syringe raised. Dante didn't shout. He lunged. A gunshot grazed his arm, but he slammed Veronin into a metal table and didn't stop until the man stopped moving. Then he dropped beside Amara. "Are they breathing?" "Barely," she whispered. "Dante, please!" Luca found a single unbroken vial of serum. Together they steadied the twins and injected the dose, praying it wasn't too late. Seconds stretched. Then the babies whimpered. Tiny, fragile sounds, but alive. Amara collapsed against Dante, sobbing with relief. He wrapped an arm around her and both children, holding them like a shield. "It's over," he said softly. "No one will ever take you again." Thank you for listening. Stories connect us in the most unexpected ways. If you felt that spark today, make sure you're subscribed. I share a new one daily, and the next might change your day.